Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mean Green Gridiron podcast, the first game preview episode of the season. I'm joined once again by the man you may know from his YouTube name of Markiplier, Carter. How's it going, man?
It's going great. I don't have a pun for this because I know nothing about Markiplier. I'm sure there's memes or bits that I'm missing out on, but I'm assuming that's a good thing. Is he well liked, or am I well liked? I should say.
Yeah, he's well liked, but his most recent thing is that like every once in a while he doesn't really show up like as much online, and then all of a sudden he'll just post a picture of him in the hospital, and his fans will be like, chew food better or something like that. So that's like his recent thing is just like always showing up in the hospital randomly. He's well liked. He's also the Dane Dunning's alter ego, so that was a cool little lookalike situation. Speaking of lookalikes,
where did he get dealt to? He's a Brave now, correct?
Yeah, he was on the Braves and he was like immediately pitching against the Rangers. But that reminds me of the I don't know if you ever saw in your time on Go Mean Green, the like lookalike threads where like whenever we play an opponent and the lookalike they'd post lookalikes from their roster. I would say about 9 out of 10 of those are like not even close. It's like what are you seeing? But and then every once in a while there's a good one and people latch onto it. But hopefully we have some good lookalike threads ahead of us this year because it beats NIL woe, and I hate the stage of college football that there's been a lot of lately. So, but we've got games to talk about now, so there's that too. Actual football.
That's right. My lookalike that I get a lot is Paul Dano, the actor. I hear that
it's very apt. Yeah, it's a good one.
Which kind of sucks because like half his roles are as like serial killers and villains. So anytime he gets like a good guy role in a movie, I'm all about it. So
yeah, no, I definitely see the Paul Dano. We're here to talk about the first game of the year. We've got Lamar and FCS opponent. First game being a home game. I usually like that. It feels like usually our first games are on the road. So even if it's a FCS opponent, it's nice to have start off at the old DATQ. So Carter, what are your initial takeaways or impressions of the Lamar Cardinals?
Before I get into Lamar stuff, I have to point out here, I know I've got a Baylor flag right here. People who follow me on Twitter know I'm a Baylor fan as well. My North Texas flag is over here, but it's about two meters over to the right. I can't really position my computer to see it, but I promise I have a UNT flag on my door. So don't be alarmed.
I promise my friends are laughing with me just off camera.
Okay, good. And this is also a Norwegian flag.
You get the reference, the Nathan Felder reference?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, good.
I just watched what's his show, the airplane season. I just finished watching that like last week. I can't remember what it's called.
I don't know.
The Rehearsal, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it's The Rehearsal, but I just got done watching that. So,
yes, The Rehearsal. Yeah.
I was also saying this is my Norwegian flag because I'm a Nordic Viking. People often mistake it for a Confederacy flag, which it is not. So
what? That doesn't even look close.
You don't think so? Okay, I've heard that before from visitors in my abode, but nevertheless, let's get into Lamar. This is a FCS matchup to start the year, which sometimes can be a good thing, sometimes can be a bad thing. UNT has not really played all too well against their FCS opponents in recent years, but they have come out on top. I think we can all remember the the sludge fest we had over Stephen F. Austin last year, where we only won by 15. We had to pull away late in the fourth quarter too. That was not like we got up and then let them score late type game. It was pretty close. And then we had the shootout with Abilene Christian a couple years ago. So this is a game, all due respect to Lamar, that I really would like to see a year 3 Eric Morris squad not dominate, but just look a little bit more sure of themselves in. Lamar's not really a great team. I think they're a good FCS team for the Southland. But their passing offense isn't really all that great. They were 7th in the Southland last year in passing yards. They got a bend but don't break defense. They didn't allow a ton of touchdowns last year, but they do struggle a little bit against the pass and the run. And they don't really have a ton of physicality or size that worries me. They're an okay team. I think Peter Rosamondo, their head coach, is he's a winner. He's got a good track record. He went 42-13 at New Haven like 15 years ago. Again, that's small school, but still impressive record. Yeah, and then he was Charlotte's interim coach a couple years ago too, wasn't he? That was he filled in a couple games when
Yeah.
Who was it? I can't remember his name.
Healy or something like that.
Healy, yeah, Will Healy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he's got a good track record and he keeps them competitive. I think they're a decent squad for the Southland, but I don't think they do anything exceptional. Like I said, they're not a great passing offense. They rely a lot on the run, and I don't think their defense excels at anything enough that's going to stop or at least slow down this offense. So a couple of years ago, the last couple FCS matchups, you could argue that we kind of shot ourselves in the foot, and a lot of self-inflicted mistakes and tempo issues kind of caused us to stall out. I know it's game one. There's going to be wrinkles, but this is probably the easiest win on our schedule. Or it should be, anyways, on paper. It's at home. The weather's going to be nice. It's supposed to rain, I think, a little bit on Saturday in Denton. But it's not going to be 105 degrees. It'll be kind of partly cloudy and like 90. So weather should be nice. And I think we're teed up for a good game here. Hopefully, we've got a quarterback now, and I know we're missing Landon Sides for this game, but if you're going to have a receiver of his skill level miss a game, you obviously want it to be the FCS opener so you can get other guys in and see what else works. Yeah. So I think I'm excited. I think it'd be a good game. I'm hoping for a larger size of victory than 15 points. I kind of hope we're looking at like the 42-17 kind of range here, but I don't want to throw too much disrespect on Lamar because they're FCS. They're coming to play a big time team. They're not going to bend over. So.
Yeah, I think the last time we played them was probably the time where I felt like, okay, we're actually destroying an FCS team, not just kind of beating them handily. The last time we played them was 2017.
I was at that game.
Yeah. I think
that was the Jeff Wilson game. He had like 200 yards or something.
That was that your first game?
That was my first game as a student and my first game as a fan. Yeah, that I didn't think about that until just now. But yeah, that was my first UNT game.
Yeah. So yeah, they won that game 59-14, and that was the first. I think that was the first time where again I had ever seen us just kill an FCS opponent to the point where it's like, okay, we're not just a so-so FBS team beating an FCS team because we're above them. We're throttling them legitimately. Had Wilson at 176 yards, Nick Smith at 101, and Evan Johnson at 98. So we had basically 3 running backs go for 100 yards. Those are the kind of performances that I think that you feel like if you can put up those kind of games against an FCS team, you're going to be pretty good. Like you said, the last couple of years, I think it was 21-20 at one point against SFA, like in the third quarter. You pulled away 35-20, but like that's not a great indication of your team. The year before, like you said, Abilene Christian, just letting them continually score. I think one of their receivers had 3 touchdowns against us. You don't want an FCS team having 3 touchdowns from one receiver against you, much less 3 touchdowns total. So I think that this should be a game where you can put up a big score where it's not just 35-20 or something like that. You're actually, I just said last year's score, but yeah, you're actually putting a fair amount of distance, and you're actually playing backups. You're actually putting Reese Poffenbarger in the third quarter because you're up by 40 points or whatever. Like that's the kind of performance I think I want to see on Saturday, and I think we have a chance. And you look at Lamar, like you said, they're a decent team. They finished 7-5 last year. They have a returning quarterback in Robert Coleman, he's been their starter the last 2 years. And the funny thing about having returning starters in college football these days is, on one hand, it's really good because hardly anybody has returning starters, especially at the FCS or G5 level. But part of the reason why he's a returning starter for an FCS team is because he didn't have great stats. I don't think that there was a huge market in the transfer portal had he declared or entered the transfer portal. He had 1,700 yards last year, 52% completion percentage, 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So just really unremarkable stats. They actually hired a new offensive coordinator because I think their offense wasn't very good. They had, just again, not a ton of stats. They had a running back, had 1,100 yards, Kalen Griffin, but he's gone. I think that probably their top receiver is Kindin Fuselier. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but Eric Morris kind of alluded to him in his presser a couple days ago, just basically saying, yeah, they've got an explosive wideout, and you got their quarterback back. So that should be a good test for the pass, the pass defense. And then, like you said, they're not super big up front. This should be a chance where we can actually see the new pass rush really make an impact and actually get to the quarterback, get the team off the field on 3rd and longs, where you can actually have enough of a pass rush where you have to rush a throw, or you have to hit a quarterback while he's throwing and disrupt the throw. Those kind of things that, even if it's not a sack, those are what you really want to see against an FCS opponent that, quite frankly, we didn't see the last 2 years. We didn't see enough of that, and it translated to having a bad defense against actual FBS teams. So this should be a good first chance to showcase the new Skylar Cassidy defense, and in particular, like I said, that new Skylar Cassidy pass rush. And then, Drew Mestemaker, new quarterback, big chance for him to light things up at his home stadium with most of his weapons available, even, sides is out. But either way, it's still probably as healthy as you're going to be all season. That first game, even if you got a little guys nicked up from fall camp, it's still probably as healthy as you're going to be, come October. But
right.
Who are some other guys who you're kind of looking at, especially maybe some guys who weren't starters last year, but are kind of moving into like a more prominent role in the team? Who are some of the guys that you're kind of looking to see what they can do with a more expanded role or in just live action?
Well, to start out, you mentioned that Morris mentioned that Poffenberg is going to play in this game.
Oh yeah.
That could go either way. That could have a multitude of meanings. The obvious hope here is that Mestemaker has a very good game. Great first half. We're up 3-4 scores. Middle of third quarter, early fourth quarter, you can put in Poffenbarger and just chill the rest of the way. If Poffenbarger plays in the first half, things might not be going so great. So we'll see. As far as newcomers, obviously Miles Coleman is like the main one. That bowl game performance was super exciting, and his connection with Mestemaker is probably the most reliable thing the skill players have on the side right now. What's up?
So you meant his connection with Coleman?
Yeah, Coleman. Or what did I say? Miles Coleman
with Mestemaker.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Miles Coleman.
You said his. You're talking about Mestemaker. You said his connection with Mestemaker.
Coleman. I meant Drew Mestemaker and Miles Coleman, who are good friends. They were roommates in camp last year. I think that they showed in the bowl game that they've got that nice chemistry, and that should be a nice go-to for this year. Hopefully, kind of the Morris to DT Sheffield recipe that we had last year, and the Rogers to Macklin recipe from 23. It's nice to have that one guy you can rely on, especially out of a slot like the Y. I think that Coleman has a lot of speed out there, so I'm really excited to see him. I know he's kind of a basic pick. I think Dalton Carnes could be due for a good year. Cameron Dorner's another guy I'm kind of excited for.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about the running backs too. I know I hyped up Jaden Becks a lot, but I really am excited to see what Jaden Becks does. I really like our offensive line a lot, so I think that we're going to have a lot of success running the ball this year. And we kind of usually do the running back by committee type deal, where it's just kind of we have the guys who can step up and get those physical short yards. We have a guy who can be explosive for big gains. So there's depth in the running back room where a couple guys could step up. Kiefer Sibley's a guy who could, end up being pretty high up there at the end of the year. So yeah, I know Miles Coleman's kind of a popular pick, but I really do think he's going to be like the standout guy. We had like the Darden year in 2020,
Right.
and talked about Macklin and DT Sheffield. I don't know if he'll put up those kind of gaudy numbers, but I do think if we're talking about like a consistent week to week guy that defenses are going to have to zone in on, I really think Miles Coleman's going to be that guy. So I don't know. I'm really excited. It makes it easier for Drew, who's a redshirt freshman, and the bowl game was fun, but this is like the real deal. This is him playing like real meaningful football for the first time at UNT. I know the bowl game mattered a little bit, but it's a bowl game, and they had transfers out, and we had transfers out, and depends how seriously you take bowl games. I don't take them that seriously as far as
ouch.
Yeah, I mean, as far as judging players and performances go, it was a really exciting game, but so many guys sit out and so many guys are missing in those games. It's just hard to gauge. I mean, if Drew Messamaker comes out and has a dud Saturday, I mean, I'm not saying I would be surprised, but we're going off of one game of a sample size. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I think as far as having a redshirt freshman quarterback, especially one that didn't play quarterback very much in high school. You kind of want to have someone he's comfortable throwing the ball to. So I think Miles Coleman, although a popular pick, is probably the step-up guy this year. I think he'll be the stat sheet filler and the headline name in the skill player core.
Yeah, no, I think that is it's hard to deny him at that kind of pick because it just makes too much sense from a lot of different angles. Like you said, the connection and just. Honestly, the dude was just every time he had a chance, he was given an opportunity last year. He really impressed, and that's what you want to see out of a true freshman. Is when they're given a chance, they show something, and then you feel like okay, well, as their role expands, they're going to be a really special player. So that's definitely how I feel about him. I think that what I'm kind of looking forward to seeing in particular is. Especially with a returning quarterback from Lamar, is I want to see how these Sam Houston corners look. You've got David Fisher and Davion Armstead. I think that these guys are going to be a really key, I guess, variable to this defense. If those guys are, they're returning starters at the FBS level, so they're going to be decent. But if they're like legitimately good, and it's like okay, we've got two legit corners who you feel like can pretty much shut down teams or at least make life really hard on good receivers. If you have that, that's a huge step towards being good. And especially you talk about the new quarterback pressure aspects that Cassidy wants to bring to the defense. If you've got two solid cornerbacks and you're doing stunts up front and you're bringing pressure from different angles, that really makes things complicated for opposing offenses. And that's where I want to see those guys. It's like, you're going to see them playing against FCS opponents, FCS receivers on Saturday. Can you make it look like, hey, we're the big boys. We are the step above these guys, and we're shutting them down. We're locking them up. We're containing them. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for in particular on defense. Is like, can those guys really make life hell on the Lamar receivers? Like I said, Fuselier, he's a player who's got some experience and some production, so it's not going to be an easy challenge, but again, it's an FCS opponent. Make it look like that. Make it look like you're the big boys on Saturday.
Right. And kind of like I touched on too. I mean, Lamar's not a rollover, but they're not a top of the league Southland Conference type team, at least not on paper. We talked a little bit about Robert Coleman, their quarterback. He was not efficient at passing the ball last year, but he also didn't throw a lot of interceptions, which usually if you see a guy, I think I didn't write it down, but I know his completion total was in like the 55, 56, 57% range. Usually if you see a quarterback with a completion around that for a year, there's probably 15 to 20 interceptions on the table.
Right.
He only threw 9. So they do limit mistakes on offense. They just aren't very efficient. So if this secondary, albeit it's a new squad, and again, it's week 1, you're working on a new system. It's a lot of new faces. It's week 1. You know what you're getting. It's going to be a little bit weird. But if they can at least be above average against this offense through the passing game, it's going to be a long year. I don't think that bodes well, especially for,
Right.
these games are supposed to build momentum. We talked about last year when we struggled against SFA. The next week we immediately rolled into Tech and got splattered. Like
Yeah.
I do think that beating these teams handily matters. And you look at the 2017 team. I know we lost to SMU the week right after that, but that was the game that Cortland Sutton went nuclear on us. The game
Yeah.
itself went fine. We started out hot, and our offense did okay that night. And then we went to
Right.
Iowa and played Iowa well.
Yeah.
And that was
for
after
sure.
we took care of our business against Lamar in 2017. Now, again, that was a really good team that we had, but the point remains that if you beat these teams handily and you can figure out, okay, how do we beat a team that we are better than? We have better players than them. We have a better scheme than them. We have a better head coach. How do we beat them to reflect that? It matters. It matters that you don't win that game 28-17. It matters
Right.
to take care of these teams. So absolutely for the secondary, I mean, Robert Coleman is just not in the higher echelon of quarterbacks we're going to face this year, especially in the American. This is a passing offense that we need to be able to stifle at least a little bit. I don't care if they give up a couple big plays. It's not going to be a game where we limit them to 110 passing yards. They might pass a little bit, but create a turnover, get a couple big third down stops. This is just an offense that we need to take care of business on and not let them keep drives alive through the air. I'm confident in our pass rush. I think Trey Fields is going to be a standout linebacker this year for this team. I really think we're going to have a really good front seven, but the secondary's got to be able to stop this team through the air because they're not that good. They're just not very efficient with passing the ball. And looking through their depth chart, I don't see any like transfer receivers or any talent that's like going to blow us out of the water on Saturday. This is a team that we should be able to hold to, 200-ish passing yards at the worst. You can look at obviously at the game at the end once garbage time's over, but this is a good litmus test for the secondary, and I'm so glad we're playing them week one. I'm glad we're not playing Washington State week one, and then and then Lamar. Like we get Lamar, we get a nice tune-up game, and then you get more serious competition going forward. This is I think as far as position groups that I am going to be most keyed in on and want to see the best game from this weekend. The secondary is for sure that highlighted group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we lost late in the game. Lost Brian Nelson, who was standout cornerback. I thought that was probably our biggest loss. Obviously, Braylon Charles was another late loss. Those were tough to stomach, but I think you still have those two Sam Houston cornerbacks, so you should be able to. And then you've got a lot of guys at safety. I think you're going to see a lot of different names at safety on Saturday. You're going to see Quentin Hammonds and BJ Allen and Evan Jackson, Patrick Smith, Will Jones. So you have 5 guys right there that you're going to see in the first half when the game is still very much on the line, or very much the score hasn't been decided yet. So there's a lot to keep an eye on there that I think is if you're going to have your eyes peeled somewhere on the defense, that's a good spot. And then just obviously the overall pressure. Is there anyone who you're hoping to see? Like for me, it's Chris Jimerson. I hope that we beat them so bad that you pretty much Mestemakers is maybe one drive in the third quarter, and then you got Poffenbarger takes it most of the rest of the way, and then Jimerson maybe last drive or two. But or even if it's just kind of seeing him come in for maybe some kind of carry situation, you just come in and run some zone read or whatever. I think Chris Jimerson, seeing him play would be fun against your FCS opponent. Hopefully you take control of the game early enough where you're able to do those kind of fun things. But is there anyone else that you're maybe a young player or someone else who you're hoping to kind of see like a glimpse of on Saturday?
Yeah, I think Jimerson's an obvious candidate. I would love it, like you said, if we're up 5 scores in the fourth quarter and coasting and everything's going swimmingly, sure, put him in. I think that'd be fun. I think Terrence Lewis is a guy that would be fun to see make an appearance.
For sure.
Baron Tipton, I'm not sure how many reps he'll get throughout the game, but
I mean, he's listed as a starter, so
is he?
On the depth chart, he came out as a starter.
Let's go. Okay, cool. Well, I mean, I know he's a redshirt freshman, but he's a guy that I want to see get a ton of playing time this year. So I guess as far as guys who aren't projected starters, then I'd go Terrence Lewis. But Yeah, seeing Jefferson, if we're rolling out 3 quarterbacks that are all putting up gaudy numbers on Saturday, I'm a fan. So, yeah, I'll go with Chris Jefferson and then 1A, 1B Terrence Lewis.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. And another one that I keep hearing about is Caleb Hawkins at running back. I think it'd be interesting to see if maybe you saw some Hawkins action there. But let me pull up real quick. I'm just pull up the depth charts and just maybe talk through that a little bit.
Ashton Gray?
Yes, Ashton Gray would be a good one too. Okay. Yeah, Ashton Gray. I think he kind of got buried a little bit in favor of favor of Caleb Hawkins lately, but yeah, again, I think he's a guy who can play. Let's see how you can zoom in on this.
Sure. See, this is where I need you and Miles because I don't keep track of like who's having great falls until the fall camp's over and I hear about it in the presser. Y'all are the ones with like the inside sources that I'm like, oh, okay, cool. This guy's having a good fall camp, and I hear about it in early August. So
right. Sorry,
by the way, for reference, SMU, yes, they're a much better team than we are. They're playing East Texas A&M, a school that I attended, by the way, for one semester.
Wait, where? East Texas A&M?
Formerly known as Texas A&M Commerce. I did attend that
school for one
semester. They are playing A&M Commerce, East Texas A&M, whatever they're called now, the Lions from the Southland, and they are 50.5-point favorites. So if you want a good example of how good teams take care of middle-of-the-pack Southland squads, there you go. That's a team that is expected to roll over these guys. And given how we've played against these teams the last couple of years, little nerve-wracking. I'm a little nervous, but I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic but nervous. I'm just excited to have football back, man. I've got 4 games on my screens right now. I got Nebraska going to halftime over here. Just finished watching the ECU game.
Yeah, there's some good football on today.
ECU played NC State really close, which I was really keen into that game after the bowl last year when they had that big fight. I was hoping there'd be some beef tonight. There was a little bit of beef. Yeah, it's been a fun Thursday, and we got Baylor Auburn tomorrow, and obviously all the big games Saturday, so it'll be fun. Good first week, but I hope UNT wins by the most points of anybody.
Yeah, for sure. So here is the depth chart, just kind of quick glance. Simeon Evans looks like kind of a 1A, 1B, I think, with Dorner. Evans gets to start there at the Z outside receiver. Coleman in the slot at the Y. Then your offensive line right now, you've got Braden Nelson at left tackle. That's a given. Seems like Johnny Dixon at right guard's a given, returning starter there. And then Jimto Obadegwu at right tackle. That's a given. Where you're going to see 3 guys, it looks like is here. Gabe Blair is listed at your starting left guard and your starting center. That's not allowed on the field, unfortunately. So he will be one of the 2. He will be either your left guard or your center. And it seems like kind of what this comes down to is, who's the better player between Shaw and Yanta. If it's Shaw, then you have Blair at center. If it's Yanta, you have Blair at guard. So that's kind of how that's going to play out, but it looks like they're probably going to play both of them on Saturday for sure. Yanta, obviously, experienced center at FCS at Abilene Christian, 37 starts there, and then Shaw comes from Texas Tech. So seems like good transfer portal additions there. Everybody here is pretty well sized. Nelson at 321, Blair probably the smallest at 306, or Dixon is too, but Shaw 314, Yanta 335, Obadegwu 335. So you've got some big boys here on the offensive line, and then again over here at X receiver, Baron Tipton, and then Wyatt Young at the H.
Hey, real quick, while we're on the subject of guys weighing a ton, am I looking correctly that Keon Johnson is listed at 6'4", 389?
Yeah, and funny enough, I think he's actually down. I think he was at like 404 last year on the roster.
Good Lord.
Yeah, he is. He's in the heavyweight class for sure. So, but he's continually been on the 2 deep.
He's like the Jordan Murray class of gentle giant.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a former walk-on, but he's continually been in the 2 deep last couple of years. So, I think he's a guy who can play a little bit. Trey Williams, this guy's getting a lot of hype at the tight end spot, as just kind of being a versatile receiver, tight end hybrid kind of guy. And then obviously Messmaker at quarterback. McGill, it sounds like he's going to get the start, and he's going to get the chance to be kind of that first showcase back and be a guy who we actually see get the kind of first crack at getting a bunch of carries. So, we'll see how that goes. I think you'll see all three of these guys plenty in the first half on Saturday. And then defense, Bryson Hayes, this is your, arguably your top pass rusher right now.
Yep.
Outland Jr. from Sam Houston State. Vailea's your, most returning starts on the defense. Ethan Day wins the defensive end spot from Wyoming. This was kind of a position battle. And then linebacker, I think these are the three you're going to see a lot: Weslowski, Fields, and Witter. You might only see two of them at the field most of the time because you've got 5 defensive backs.
Right.
But they list 12 starters in total, depending on the package. But then right here at nickel, you've got 3 different guys who you could see. It's B.J. Allen, second year here, transfer from Texas. Quentin Hammonds, who's played a lot as a true freshman. And then Jackson Latayuma, who transferred from Washington State. And he was a pretty productive player as well. We haven't heard a lot about him, but I think he's going to make an impact. And then Will Jones from Old Dominion, Evan Jackson, returning starter, Patrick Smith-Young, transfer from Old Dominion as well, and then Fisher and Armstead at the corner spot. So these are kind of a quick glance at everybody here in this. I think everybody here you'll probably see, for the most part, you'll see most of these guys in the first half or for sure at some point on Saturday. So pretty expected group for the most part. This doesn't differ a ton from the depth charts that I was rolling out. Your guy Rudy Vargas secured a second spot on the 2 deep. That was pretty impressive, especially.
Baby.
So,
which is exactly where you want your team's Rudy to be. You don't want him first string. You want him to have adversity to overcome. Rudy Vargas, if you listen to this, I am cheering for you, my man. You're going to have the breakout star year in the American. I believe.
Yeah. I'm cheering for you too, man, but not as hard as Carter. I'll be honest. So.
I think the secondary might need our support a little bit more. So.
Yeah, for sure. But
I do. You talked about the nickel too, real quick. I think it is I don't want to read too much into it, but I do think when you have a secondary that is coming off of a year as bad as last year was, the nickel's a really important position for this defense, and to have 3 projected guys who could all be starters, I hope that's a vote of confidence that all these 3 guys had really good camps. I don't know. Yeah. Again, I'm not an inside source on the team, so I can't say for sure. But it is looking like all 3 of those guys could get significant playing time Saturday. And from the film, I know how good B.J. Allen is, but I haven't seen a ton of Latayuma or Hammonds. Excited to see what those 2 guys bring to the table. So,
yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and say that this is the year Weslowski finally stops being seen as like a frustrating player to watch, and we start actually appreciating him for like, oh, he's an experienced, reliable defensive player. But
I think we mentioned that in like the first preview we did for the team. If I remember correctly, I think one of our first pods this summer was like, can Ethan Weslowski like be good? Because he can be good. Will he be good? We've seen the flashes. I do think he's he's one of the guys definitely to keep an eye on back there. But he's listed at the Sam, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I still think Trey Fields is super, super underrated, and I think he's one of those linebackers that I think will elevate the guys around him. Again, this is just from watching a little bit of Sam Houston football last year, but I like our linebacking core. I think that Witter and Weslowski could both benefit from having a guy as tenured and successful as Fields next to them. So I hope so, man. I'm pulling for Weslowski too.
All right, last thing. First, before we do scores, first UNT touchdown of the year is scored by who?
Oh, let's see. I'm gonna go Drew Mestamaker by the run. I'm gonna say Drew Mestamaker runs in the first touchdown of the year.
Okay. Man. I think I'm gonna go with Simeon Evans. I think that they're gonna come out throwing in that first series, and I think he's gonna be one of the benefactors of that passing attack. So I'm gonna go with him, kind of making a catch and then scampering away. So
cool.
I'll go with Evans. But all right, score prediction. What do you got, Carter?
My self-conscious worry, right, is when we do these pods for it, albeit a small G5 team. I don't want to get too big of an ego, but I would assume that maybe some players listen to this. Maybe someone within the program is listening to this, and then I feel bad because if I say anything bad, it's like, who's this loser who's sitting in his apartment and does not play football, talking about how bad this player is. I always let that get into my head. So I have to be respectful. I always just want to make that clear. I am not a football player. However, I don't think Lamar is super talented. I don't think they're super excellent at anything. Their passing attack just not very efficient. Like you mentioned, they lose their top rusher from last year, which is where they succeeded. Their defense, okay at stopping the pass, okay at stopping the run, but not excellent at either. I think this is going to be a game where UNT can finally exploit an FCS team and stand up. Use your talent, use your head coach to beat a team soundly. I don't want to get my hopes up for this year because, hopes are meant to be broken. But I'm really confident that this is finally the year where we get a big time FCS win. I think this has the possibility to get up into like the 52, 59-7 range if everything goes right. Again, this defense was terrible last year, ours I'm talking about. So there are a lot of guys who need to step up and kind of make that turnaround happen. But this is not a team that's going to do damage offensively. So give me North Texas in the first game at DECU this year by a score of, I will play it safe and say 45-14. But if it ends up in the 59-10 kind of range, don't be surprised. But I'll go 48-14 as my prediction.
Jeez, wow, 48. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to change mine then.
Oh, is that yours?
No, I was gonna say 49-17, but I'll say we get a field goal. I'll say 52-17.
Okay. If we can end with 50, I'll be happy. And you know what? Even if we give up a couple points, even if it's like 52-28, that's fine. Just make it big. Score a lot of points.
Yeah, for sure. Score a lot of points, and I want to see in particular, like we're scoring points in a variety of ways. We're not being over reliant on the pass game because we can't run the ball against an FCS team. Or I don't know if you remember that Northwestern State game a few years ago, where it's like Jace Reuter could not throw the ball, so DeAndre Torrey just had to rush for like 300 yards, and we were good. But
that was a frustrating game to be at. Were you there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not fun.
Yeah, so don't be one dimensional against an FCS opponent. Put them away handily in a multitude of ways. So, all right. Well, thanks for listening. And football is here. Hope everybody makes it out to the game and has a good time. And before the game and after as well, and during. But yeah, thanks for listening again. And go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green.